Hello, everybody. So, Enphase is just under $185 and it keeps dropping, and that's a market-wide sell-off, mostly of innovation stocks that I think maybe harder to understand if you don't have a long-term horizon. Enphase is a stock that you would buy because you have a very long-term horizon. That's why I'm into the stock. That's also why Enphase is my only highest conviction stock in tier one other than Tesla. I believe they have a product that is so essential to the core of our future economy. We are headed towards a world of abundant energy, and solar is key to this abundance in energy, and Enphase as one, I believe, all of the back-end infrastructure of residential solar through their microinverter products. So I just want to talk a little bit about their solution for residential solar, why the product is so good, and why I have no issues buying the stock right now. I believe they have close to one. Actually, they have a quasi-monopoly in the microinverter business. If you look at their products, when you peel back the onion, you need to be very careful about a lot of people telling you there's competition coming. Well, are you talking to someone in the field, right? I trust magazines in the field. For example, Photovoltaics magazine, right? Solar is PV panels. Enphase trades at an elevated valuation. Not true anymore, I don't think, due to its unique position as a globally dominant microinverter provider with close to 100% of market share of inverters. That's Photovoltaics magazine saying that. It's not me. And I think a lot of people don't see this coming, perhaps because we don't live in Australia. If you look at Norway, people who lived in Norway, people who studied Norway, they got into Tesla as early as in 2014, 2015, because they saw the benefit before everybody else. I made a whole video about Australia. I actually recommend you watch this video from a fully charged, so solar power capital of the world. Australia is very interesting as to where I think we're headed. 1 out of 3 homes in Australia as solar PV, right? It's the number one power source in Australia, solar, and it is the cheapest source of energy. And if you're thinking about this from data that's 5 years old, you're not going to see that. You need to use very recent data to be able to see that. And keep in mind that the declining cost curves of solar is getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, just like your computer is getting better and better and better. These are the declining cost curve. When you look at all of the predictions, a lot of people are predicting, solars will go down a little bit. These are the predictions over a year, and what you see is that the cost of solar is going down much faster than anything we've ever predicted. And the same is true for batteries. Per my calculation, batteries are going to be 4 times cheaper in 2033 than they are today, and solar is probably going to continue another decline in cost, and probably another 90% decline in cost over the next 10 years. So solar is already dirt cheap. It's extremely cheap and is about to get cheaper. Go to your local hardware store. Go to, say, Harbor Freight and look at the cost of a solar panel at Harbor Freight. It is becoming alarmingly dirt cheap, and they are going to become much, much, much cheaper. China is building these at an unprecedented pace. So are they building batteries at an unprecedented pace, and they are flooding the market with these products. These products are much closer to consumer goods, consumer electronics, smartphone. They're much closer to that than they are to traditional legacy industry. And I think that's a very important background to understand when we talk about solar. Solar scales, and it's a very scalable solution. Let me just quickly talk about the basics of energy. I know this is so basics. I once had a comment telling me I'm going back to high school, but no, this is so important to talk about basics. All energy that we have comes from fusion. Which is the fusion explosion in the sky, which is the sun. I'm sorry to be going back to first principle, but the sun is that fusion explosion. And historically, what we've done is we've used grown organic matter from the sun, right? And then we've burned them to generate heat and electricity, right? So we've burned freshly dead forests to generate heat and electricity later on, and then we've burnt long dead forest, that's coal, same, to generate movement, electricity, and heat later on, and now we're burning fossilized forest to generate electricity and heat and transportation and motion and all of the energy that we need. Energy comes from the sun, and from a first principle basis, it is much cheaper. It is the cheaper way to just have wafers of silicon on a piece of glass and have the fusion explosion in the sky, the sun, excite those electrons on that silicon. And then that silicon is stored in man-made electrical device, which are batteries, stored in batteries, right? But because of the industrial world, because of the way electricity used to be generated through motion, and because of the fact that electricity was centralized, right, we needed to move to alternating current. So today, over the past 130 years now, we've established that electricity has to be alternating current because that was the way electricity was generated through rotors, right, and the motion turning motion into energy, right? And also for transportation reasons. That's why we needed to have AC, because when you have AC, you can move current from one state to another. That's where inverters come in, because our entire homes are designed for AC, and electricity does not come as AC in the natural state, right? We need to have microinverters or inverters in general to take that direct current that comes from exciting the electrons or from the battery and turning those into something that is usable for our daily lives. That is where Enphase comes in. Enphase's main product turns this kind of undomesticated DC energy, turns it into domesticated energy, which is AC, which is what we use. I'm sorry to have to do this flashback. It may be weird, but I think it's so important to realize that all energy is solar energy at a fundamental level. 99% of the energy we use at a fundamental level is solar energy. And it's important to know that Enphase is at the heart of this revolution. The future, in my view right now, and this is from watching a lot of installer videos, talking to a lot of solar installers. I love the solar industry. This is kind of a passion of mine. The state right now is, I think where we're headed is one solar panel equals one microinverters. And these microinverters, they are stuck behind the solar panel, right? And that's going to be an essential element, right? An essential modern chip, kind of a modern semi-world, an essential element of the solar energy industry. And they have fully automated, almost automated manufacturing lines, some quality control, of course. But these products are very well made. I suggest you look at some of the videos on the Enphase products, very well made. And if you look, they provide their microinverters to so many different legacy brands of solar panels. Sometimes it's like let's say if an installer uses a panel from from a cheap Chinese manufacturer, they'll stick them on behind the solar panel themselves, and they'll do the setup themselves, and they'll get the microinverters for Enphase. But more and more, what we see is a lot of solar panels come with the Enphase products, right? The microinverter built in. So this is a company that's putting itself at the heart of the ecosystem. This is a video, for example, that I made about sun power about 2 weeks ago, showing you how SunPower does it, right? SunPower, this is a co-branded, right? This is branded Enphase. This is branded under SunPower, but this is an Enphase product that is below the SunPower panels, right? And so I saw an article the other day saying that SunPower was a competitor of Enphase in the inverter market. Well, it's a client. It's a client, and many of these companies are not competitors. They are clients. They are using Enphase technology, whether we know it or not, right? Just because it's branded something else doesn't mean the product is not made by someone else. In the case of Enphase, Enphase is really, really at the heart of this revolution. I can't emphasize this enough. Enphase is also compatible with the entire solar ecosystem. By focusing at the source of the solar panel, their inverters are entirely compatible. And I made a whole video about this and about how it is in Australia, which now has 30% of its energy coming from solar, how it is in the future. There is no, and today, right now, there is no issue imagining, even though it's a little more complicated for installers, that you have Enphase microinverters pair with, say, a Tesla Powerwall or an Enphase Powerwall. They make their own, or an LG Chem, or so many of these Powerwalls are growing right now and in development because these Powerwalls are so essential to the future energy independence of our homes, right? We have a fridge. The fridge makes ice for us. we're going to have solar panels and batteries that make our electricity. It is as simple as that, in my view. And by the way, these batteries are the next wave of this revolution, because as we're going to have electric trucks, electric vehicles, families with 2 or 3 EVs, if you want to have an instant charge of these, I mean near instant, like if you want to have like a 10-minute charge of these EVs, you're going to have batteries that are going to be able to unload power in DC really, really fast with charging cable. So Enphase bought Clipper Creek, and they're getting into the charging of EVs, because this is going to be essential to the infrastructure of the future. I really fundamentally believe that in the future, we will all generate energy on our roofs, right? Single family homes will generate energy on their roof. I mean, not all, but most. And then that energy from your roof will be stored into batteries, and then you can charge your car, and you entirely eliminate the whole gas station fossil fuel process, which is a very inefficient process, and you move to something that is so much more efficient. You go straight from harvesting electrons from the photons, exciting electrons, charging your car, or powering your home. The process is so straightforward with minimal losses. That is why that is cheaper. That is why that is the cheapest source of energy over the long run. It is superior technology, right? We moved from forests to coal to fossil fuels to now batteries. It is only logical to me, in my view. I mean, I realize I'm a contrarian in a lot of stocks, but that's the way I see things headed. And then you may tell me, okay, I agree with your premise. I agree with solar panels, and I agree with inverters. Well, why microinverters, and why not string inverters? Well, this is another video I recommend from Gary Doss Solar. It was one of the better videos I could find about the topic, and about why microinverters, I believe, too, are the future of solars. First of all, they last twice as long. They're much tinier, and there's much less strain on them, so they last twice as long as string inverters. You don't have a single point of failure, right? It's on a per panel basis. So if you have a roof with, say, 20 solar panels and one fails, you don't lose the whole roof, right? But you lose the whole roof if you have a string inverter, because they have to be wired in series. You have a panel shut off at the panel level. That's another very important point. There's plenty of flaws right now that say that panels have to be shut off within a few feet of the panel in case there are emergency services, so that the firefighters don't get into issues. And this is something that a lot of string inverters have come up with a solution with optimizers, but optimizers don't work nearly as well as microinverters. There's more things, like another issue with string inverters in general is if you have them connected on series. If you have like dirt or leaves on a panel, your whole system can be weakened and taken down. Even worse, if you have one panel that is fully broken, right? I don't know, maybe you had hail one day. Really, I mean, they're supposed to be strong enough, but maybe a neighbor threw a brick on a panel and your panel is broken. Well, your whole system's taken down if you have string inverters, right? It's not the case if you have a micro inverters. And I'm fully aware, by the way, that string inverters are pushing optimizers. But the more I read about optimizers, the more I realize this is more like a patch. This is more like a fix, having an optimizer. This is not the optimal solution. I think most people are going to come to the conclusion that the optimal solution is to have a highly scalable piece of electronics that is the size of a smartphone, that you can fully scale to major size, right? That's going to be, I think that's going to be the future. Manufacturing these bulky string inverters is going to be so complicated. Also, there's another issue. String inverters are extremely heavy. And that's something that installers are less likely to push forward, because they're not easy to install. They're not easy to set up. It's so much easier to set up a product that is as close to consumer electronics as it gets. You just don't get the same level. At least that is my view. If you're in the space, you don't have to agree with me, but that is my view based on what I see and notice. You can manage power at the individual level. You have software. I think it's just better. Installers around the world seem to vote for Enphase. I made a whole video where I talked to 9 different installers at the local home and garden show in my area, and every single one of them recommended Enphase. Every single one of them. By the way, I have this discussion with my brother all the time. He still lives in Europe, looking into getting solar. Same thing where he's located at. Same thing. People are pushing Enphase. Enphase seems to be winning. I am sorry to say that, but Enphase seems to be winning. The installer software is amazing per what I read and hear about so many of these installers. The installer software helps you with financing, contracting, design proposal, sales leads, tariffs, regulation, permit plans. Installers love to use that software from what I see. And you can see the scale. You can begin. We are at the beginning of Enphase, but we begin to see the scale that Enphase is entering with 58 million of those installed on 3 million homes, and they keep installing more and installing more and installing more. I have seen the change in my Texas neighborhood. I have seen the change from no house whatsoever to a good 10% of the homes now, and that change was just a few years. So I just want to point that out. Like people are catching on to solar. People are catching on this, and Enphase has tremendous optionality. First of all, their Enlighten software, I believe, is one of the most promising piece of software that they have, it allows you to manage your whole solar setup, but it's also going to allow you to resell electricity to the grid. And I think this is going to be an integral part in the virtual grid, when you're going to have your software coordinate and feed back electricity into the grid for a profit whenever it's needed, right? I explored that in a prior video where, for example, if you have like two electric cars charged and there's a surge, and say NEM3, the grid in California is paying you, I don't know, $2.50 per kilowatt hour, well, it's very likely that you're going to decide as a household, well, let me make $300. Let me just unload 90% of the charge in my electric vehicles, and I'll just stay home today. Right? I'm sure you're going to have arbitrage like this because you're going to be able to export your electricity. So this is a money-making product, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. If you study it and actually, if you don't get ripped off, if you actually talk to installers, get multiple quotes, what I've witnessed down here in Texas is a payback between 5 and 8 years, depending on whether you feed in the electricity back, depending on the type of tariff you have, depending on whether you get a battery. I've noticed down here where I'm located at is between 5 and 8 years. But you see, right now, this is what people don't see right now, is the cost of electricity has gone up, right? It's about 15 cents a kilowatt hour. It's gone up from 12 cents or 13 cents. So it's gone up in just a few years. It's gone up by quite a bit. I believe it will keep going up by quite a bit, because a lot of investments are going to have to be made in the grid, in the utilities, and as this keeps going up, we have a clear trend. Right now, it follows inflation pretty nicely. You have a clear trend. As this keeps going up, the cost of solar panels is going to keep going down because these follow the cost curves of electronics. The cost of solar panels are going to keep going down, and the cost of electricity that you get from the grid is going to keep going up, which means that I believe that these numbers are going to be much, much more compelling. By the way, we have another 10 years of 30% tax credit on these systems, on these solar systems. So a lot of people are going to be compelled to not pay taxes this year, but instead do an Enphase system on their house. I really believe that. A lot of people are going to take advantage of that. Enphase has a whole vision for the home. They have a vision to be your own manufacturer of a micro utility for a single family home. This is also part of my thesis as to why I believe single family homes are going to go up they're going to grow more and more valuable. I suggest, if you're interested in solar, I suggest you look at Tony Seba and the predictions of Tony Seba. Like in most places, roof space can be between 5 and 9 times bigger than your needs. Right? So imagine if houses cover their entire roof with solar. Imagine how much excess energy you can have. And that's just with the technology of today. I believe this is going to get much better. We have a convergence of technology. This is a major convergence of technology with electric cars and with the grid issues that we're seeing. There's lots of convergence going on here in the system. I love having a good portion of my future invested in this company. Lastly, the IRA, right? The IRA is gold. It's gold for Enphase. I've highlighted that multiple times in the video. But the CEO on the call is very excited. They're building 6 manufacturing facilities in the USA to make inverters with their Flex partner. Right, because look, this is a product. If you buy it from a retailer, $167 is how much the IQ8, the latest microinverter, costs. Actually, if you buy it wholesale, it's much cheaper than that, right? And they're gonna get on that product. They are gonna get, per my calculation, $42 on subsidies on this product. Now, this is a product. If you're a wholesaler, you probably get it around 100, and we know Enphase has 40% gross margin. So how much of that subsidy is going to cover the cost of goods sold for Enphase? And my guess is going to cover more than half of their cost of goods sold. Maybe even more than that. And by the way, Enphase is already working on the next version. They want to have a version of the next version of microinverters higher than 384 watts, because now they have an incentive to increase the wattage on these. Because of that subsidy. So that subsidy is highly miscalculated from the part of the IRA bill, but that's wonderful for Enphase. They're investing heavily in mostly manufactured automated lines. Here's another thing Enphase is doing, and this subsidy has a lot to do with it, but that's just smart too. They're putting microinverters, right, into their battery setups too. Instead of having a big string inverters in their battery setup, they're having microinverters as well. And this has a lot of benefits. One microinverter, which means that their batteries don't fail as much, because and another benefit of that is not only do you have one battery cell equal one microinverter, and you have multiple tiny battery cells, so it's all compartmentalized. That's a big advantage. Another advantage of that is that you have redundancy, longer life, and especially simultaneous charging and discharging. A lot of early versions of these wall batteries was you could either charge them or uncharge them. Because this is a set of multiple compartmentalized batteries, 12 in this case, because this is that case, you're able, if you get an Enphase system, to charge your batteries and discharge your batteries. So anyways, I think this company has a lot going for it. I'm so happy to be buying it at under $185 today. I'm very happy about that. Let me just conclude with financials, because this is a financials channel. But I think if we don't understand the qualitative opportunity, it's tough to understand the financials. The financial of these companies, to me, is amazing. So right from 2021, 2022, 2023, we have seen unabated growth. Look at the quarterly revenue per year. Like you can clearly see a major pickup in every single quarter from 2020 to 2021 to 2022. And keep in mind, we just got a major subsidy of a $7,500 federal tax credit. So this is going to increase even more, I believe. Their gross margins are trending in the right direction at 43%, right? That's very, very high for hardware. So we don't have an outlook from Enphase, but analysts are expecting 43% revenue growth. So first of all, that's super high. There's not that many companies out there with 43% revenue growth expected by analysts. Like on this channel, I try to really cover those stocks that have the highest growth numbers, right? This is stunning. But I'm expecting just a tad higher. If you look at my most undervalued spreadsheet, I'm expecting just a tad higher. And if I do my own forecast here, and I do 12% quarter over quarter, I am getting for the next 4 quarters, right? So for the next year, right, this year, I'm getting $3.874 billion in sales for 2023 at the current market cap. That's a 6 times sales. A 6 times sales is not a lot for this company. In my view, I believe, in my view, that this company is very cheap. They're just getting started. That's what I see. To me, solar is going to be very, very, very prevalent in the future. They're working so much on solar. These solar panels, for example, one of the early rebuttals is, oh, they look ugly. Well, some of the newer ones are starting to look very, very good. And, now they make like dark solar panels that look super techy. They have so much going on for these solar panels. There's new laws, right? In California, for example, they have laws that new builders have to have solar panels on roofs. Who's to say that these laws are not going to be expanded to the whole country? I think for a company like this, I think 6 times sales is a steal. It's a bargain in my view. This is just the nature of technology. This technology is a much better technology. And even though this is not obvious today, I think it's going to be very, very, very obvious down the future. A lot of people are picking up on this and eliminating their electric bills, especially as they get shocked by seeing your electric bill go up. Like when you get that invoice in the mail, and you get that shock of, say, your bill going up 30%, that triggers purchases. Right, the tax. Anyway, I could go on. I will make a much longer video on Enphase, because I think this is a company that is that you could argue is almost as complex as Tesla in many ways. But a lot of people, it's undercovered. So I think I'll make a kind of a mega episode on Enphase and go through all of my thoughts with it coming up. So thank you very much for watching. I'm very enthusiastic about this company, as you can probably tell. This is obviously not investment advice. I hope you were entertained in this entertainment-only video. I hope that entertained you. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Have a great day.